Well, congratulations on your
Thank you
ASC
very
award
much.
nomination. Yeah, I mean, it's super, super exciting. You shot 6 episodes of this season, including, your nominated episode. I'd love to start at the beginning of how you got involved with Snowpiercer and what attracted you to the show.
So, um, we were all locked down and living through Zoom, and I guess I saw something. Keslow Camera, which is where I'm right now,
Mm.
was hosting some kind of a chat about Snowpiercer. I had seen the movie and I liked the movie. I didn't know there was a show, and I didn't know my friend John Grillo had shot it. And it was good to see John. They were talking about how the pilot went and blah blah blah. And it was John had led that show. He opened it. He was the main DP. I think the first season there was only one DP, but the second season there was an alternating, and so I sort of got the lowdown of the whole thing on this thing. I remember texting him, and I really liked it seemed like a really good series to do, and I was like, man, he's doing really good. And then I was doing the Kominsky method here in Los Angeles. And some 2020, and towards the end of the year, I got a text from somebody I had met before, a director, who said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I'm just finishing up a show. Why? Oh, what are you doing in March?" And so when he said it was, I knew it was him who was with John, and I, very quickly I was like, "Oh, Snowpiercer." So the first thing I did was, I think as I was talking to him, I texted John like, "What happened? Why are you not doing why am I being called for your job?" Like the
Yeah.
first thing we do is check with, especially if he's your friend and colleague. And he said, no, I did 2 series. It was great, 2 seasons, but it's not, I'm done with it. It's not time to do something else. It was actually, I was involved in, hey, why don't you call, Reynoso? He might like it. So then I was invited to Vancouver, and I was happy to join a circus that had been going for 2 seasons already, and I shot the third and penultimate.
Yeah, I mean, what's it like coming on to a show that very much has an established look already, has already gone through a couple seasons, and now you're coming on as a new DP? How did you approach that?
Well, I guess it's a common scenario, and so you first have to sort of see what the show is and which are the things that in a very sort of creative personal level, which are the things that that are not entirely satisfied with. Like, I wouldn't want to be doing that. I'd much prefer to do this. So once you identify which ones they are and what is the degree you would like to, like which degree of, I don't want to say change, but you're gonna put your own personal print in it. So you just have to identify how long is gonna be your swing in your own racket. And then make sure that that's not obtrusive to not only audience, but producers, writers, directors, etc. So that's kind of what we did. It was not, the show itself was not far from the stuff I often do. I did speak to John, like, hey, oh yeah, that could, and he told me a little bit of the evolution of the show, and it seemed that what I kind of wanted to do was in a line sort of in the same direction as what the show had progressed on its own. And then listen to Christoph, the director, who said this, this season I wanted to use more, they've been afraid of white lenses. I want to use more white lenses. I want to use, and then often, oddly enough, there was something else happened that made the season 3 what it is, which is there was a member of the camera team what started as a second AC and then moved to be camera operator. And then everybody talked, about Adam. They're like, oh, Adam is so wonderful. Adam this, Adam that. So at some point I said, well, why isn't Adam doing the A camera? Isn't he the Steadicam operator? Yeah, he is. And we know we're really not going to do Steadicam except a couple of times. So why don't we make him the guy? Because he had been on the show from the beginning and he was particularly enthused about it. So it seemed more sensible to choose him as the main operator, because then and he became one of the voices of the shooting of the show. But sometimes we didn't see eye to eye, but I preferred. I was like, well, or rather, let me rephrase. Sometimes I felt like I wouldn't do the shot the way he did it, but what he had done was good. So okay, it's not exactly what I thought I wanted, but this is just as good. So let's make him happy and go for it. In a way, I felt I didn't necessarily have had a pony in the race in many aspects. As long as it was good, it didn't need to come from me necessarily.
Right.
Which is something that wasn't the case before. That's something that I learned after COVID. You don't have to hit all the balls. As long as the balls are hit and they're going in the right direction. If somebody else is shooting them and they're good, it's fine.
Yeah, I like that way of looking at it. So with this nominated episode, is there a particular scene that you're very proud of, something that was maybe challenging?
Let me answer it this way. So when the season was aired, the alternating DP, who's Trick Singer, who's a great guy, said, "Hey, I saw episode 4, and I really like it." And I remember saying, "Oh yeah, the pink episode," and I was a little bit, because in the story, like, the girl is missing. Her mother's like an imaginary character, and it was somehow sentimental. And the director wanted this pink light, when there's in the sunset when there's this magenta pink light, and I was like, okay, well, let's do it. And we had some fun stuff with trying to match scenes that were gonna be cross-cut with that happened at that time of day. So we had a roll of gel going through the lights, which was fun. Those things, the editing is never as it's never as you think it's gonna be. So the effect is not that perfect, but it was fun to do. So I remember the Trick said that when the Emmys came about, and I had to select, they called me, and I selected the last episode because there's a thing at the end where there's exteriors, interiors, light effects, and sort of I did it because I thought it had the elements that people are looking for, and of course, it wasn't it. So when the ASC awards came, I was like, no, this time, I'm gonna do the episode, because once he said it, I did check it out, and I was like, this episode has heart.
Yeah.
Within the universe of Snowpiercer stood out a little bit, and it was basically because Leslie Hope had sort of leaned on the sentimental aspect of it, the emotional part of it. Otherwise, it's a chun adventure kind of show. So then I chose it, and it ended up, they liked it. So moral of the story is go for the heart, not for the, I thought it has exteriors, interiors, the light effects, special effects, it has everything you want.
No, I mean, really, it does come down to heart so often, even when the visuals are amazing in the end, like, we're telling a story. So that's really great. What's it mean to you to be nominated for an ASC award with this?
It's really important. The thing with the ASC awards is that you're nominated by other cameramen and women, of course. DPs have that eye, so you can't fool them.
Right.
It's really can't fool them. So I think it's just a bigger. The meaning's a little deeper because it's your peers. And last year I was nominated with the Kominsky method. So 2 in a row, it's really like it's being awarded already.
Yeah.
And if it stays like this, I don't have to go up to the podium and speak. So in that part of me prefers it this way, but we'll see.
Yeah. Are there any other nominated shows or films that really stood out to you and inspired you this year that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'm gonna say I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember who's nominated.
That's okay.
And the thing is, recently, like I spent so much of my life looking at at fictitious characters in frame.
Yeah.
When I work, that most of the times I prefer to be amongst real people, and I no longer spend the time I used to watching other things.
Yeah.
I rather read. I'm not the cinephile I used to be. I'm a little more into. I go to the theater a lot more. But even if I have to choose between a dusty street and a museum, I'll walk a dusty street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that is another way to get inspiration to continue to be a creative person too, though.
It's
So,
the only. It's the
yeah.
only way. I no longer find inspiration in other people's work or in other people's digestion of reality. I rather go to reality itself, to nothing like a dusty street to get me inspired.
Yeah. Absolutely.
With a little
agree that there's
garbage.
nothing like reality. So, is there anything else about the show that I haven't touched upon that you'd really like to share?
It was an important show for me in many levels, but one of the things I came to learn through it is because the main metaphor of the French graphic novel and then the movie, and it's very simple. It's the people in the back of the train want to drive, so it's the class struggle. But one of the things I came to realize was through doing it was that what I've been doing all this life, I thought I was doing, I thought filmmaking was some sort of an art form, and then through this job I understood that's not only not an art form and it's not really entertainment. What I've been doing all this time is propaganda, and that's what we do. So it was an important show because it taught me like this is all we do is propaganda to condition people to keep working in somebody else's machine. So in a way, the fictitious part of the show, made me reflect on what we do as a society, and we're exactly like those characters. We're working for somebody else, So that's what I take from doing that job is that at least now I know that I work in the propaganda instrument for capitalism. That's what I do for a living, and it's not what I wanted to do, but that's what happened. So it's important to know it before, if you want to change it, change it. It's important to realize.
Yeah. And do you want to change it?
I mean, it's so fun to do. I mean, it's just very strong it's very strong to be faced in a mirror that tells you you're actually a very effective instrument to maintain the status quo when you thought you wanted to change the world. But it's so fun. It's going to be hard to,
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard.
Movies.
It's going to be really hard to be on that Amnesty International boat, trying to catch the whale hunters. I guess I could documentaries maybe, but it would at least I sort of saw myself in a real mirror, and that's I think important.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've got into that same mirror yet, but I'm glad you enjoy what you do. Yeah,
I do very much so, and and the people making the actors and the crew, they were such passionate, and it was really good. I remember one of the things I said to David Diggs at the end. I said, it's not really about the quality of the circus. It's about whether you like the midgets that you work with or not. And I remember he said, "Oh, that's a really good phrase." And I would have done if I had time. if it wasn't for availability, I would have done the next season. The reason I didn't do it is because I had my time committed before they approved that next season.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's always great to really enjoy working with your cast and crew. That's definitely a privilege. So I'm really glad that you had that experience.
Yeah, as a human level, they were really awesome.
Yeah.